Great. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Michelle Rosar and I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Enrollment here at Temple University School of Sport, Tourism, and Hospitality Management. I am joined here today with Dr. Jeremy Jordan, Associate Dean at STHM and Associate Professor here at STHM as well. Just to give you a brief background, Dr. Jordan joined the STHM faculty in 2008 and has since taken on a variety of roles within the School of Sport, Tourism, and Hospitality. He served as the Director of Temple's Sport Industry Research Center, currently still serves as Temple University's NCAA Faculty Athletic Representative, and more recently, as of July 1st, our Associate Dean here at STHM. So thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So today's topic of discussion is going to be around college athletics. So we're going to dive into the expansion of the NCAA. We're going to talk about the driving forces of the NCAA's globalization as well as its expansion. And we're going to talk about what we can do as students, as young professionals, anyone looking to break into the industry, how to prepare for the future of college athletics. So that's what we're here today to talk about. I also wanted to introduce someone who you can't see. Her name is Jamie. Jamie Can. You want to say hi, Jamie?
Hello, everyone.
Jamie is going to be answering questions throughout the interview. We are doing this over Facebook Live, so we want this to be as interactive as possible. Ask questions, leave comments. Jamie will field the comments towards the end if we have some time. But basically, she's also going to be posting resources, relevant links, anything for you to kind of follow up on the stuff that we're talking about. Just as a note, this is a part of our Sport Business 360 series, so any graduate students watching or anyone interested in graduate school, this is a comprehensive overview of the STHM experience. So just kind of giving you a heads up that this is a part of that series. Awesome, so let's get to business here. So I gave you a little bit of background on Dr. Jordan's time within STHM and the different roles he's taken. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got to where you are today. We can kind of go from there.
Sure, yeah. And when I did my undergrad, I was a physical education major. I was going to teach high school PE and coach. That's what I wanted to do. I taught junior high PE for a year, and that's the worst thing ever I did in my life. So I decided I'm not going to work with junior high kids. So I went back and did my master's in sport management, and I didn't know a lot about sport management at the time, but I was very interested in sport. I'd participated in sport all my life, and one of my mentors said, you know, there's this business side of sport that you can get involved with, and it may be a good fit for you given how much you've enjoyed sport and being part of it. So I did my master's at the University of Utah. Then I worked in college athletics for a little while as an athletic director, and I coached a little bit. And during that time, I started teaching at the college level, and I really enjoyed that as well. And so I thought, well, here's an opportunity to go back, do my PhD in sport management, and be on the academic side and work with people that want to get into the industry and help prepare them. So I've been at a couple different institutions. Been at Temple now for 10 years, have been fortunate for the last 3 to be the NCAA faculty athletics rep, so I get to work with athletics, which has been very exciting, but then also now, as of July 1, I'm the Associate Dean in our school, and so just really trying to help keep us moving in the direction we've been going for the last few years, which is doing bigger and greater things for our students.
Awesome, and we're all really excited to have you as our associate.
I appreciate you saying that. I'll write that down that you said that, so thank you.
Awesome. So when looking at your background, one of the most consistent themes I think that most people notice is your roles have really been around data-driven decision-making within sports. So looking at research. So why really is data-driven research so important when it comes to the NCAA making decisions within college athletics?
Yeah, I think data is important for any manager. It provides evidence on the direction that you should go and helps support what you think is the right direction or identifies a new direction that maybe you weren't aware of. So we've done a lot of research with different sport organizations and events, and we've worked with the NCAA for the last few years. We helped their Committee on Infractions look at whether they had been consistent with how they've issued sanctions in major violation cases. So there'd been a lot of public response, especially in the media, that they had not been consistent, that they punished the big schools too much or too less. And they really had never looked at everything they had done from an analytic perspective to determine, have we been consistent? Have we applied the rules in a fair and consistent manner throughout? And so we were the first group that had looked at over 600 major violations cases and tried to determine, had they been consistent throughout this period? And we found that there was no evidence of bias. And so our estimation was that they had been fairly consistent. But without this information, they wouldn't know how to respond to their critics, and they wouldn't know how to make any kind of procedural or policy changes if there were issues. And so again, I tell my students, it's when you're driving somewhere and you don't really know, you want a map or direction so you can have confirmation that you're going in the right direction. And that's really what data does for the people that we work with.
And you did that research here in the Sport Industry Research Center at Temple?
Yes.
Okay,
and
awesome.
We'll be doing some more over the next 2 years working with the Committee on Infractions again. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been really interesting work. We've got to get, our students have been able to get involved, so that's one of the great things about coming to Temple and being in our program is that if you're interested, we have the opportunity to get you involved in research projects, which a lot of students have that interest.
Awesome. So with the NCAA expanding the reach globally, which I hope you can talk a little
Sure.
bit more about, what impact is this global expansion going to have on all of our students looking to break into the sport of college or into the world of college athletics?
So college sport is unique. It's one of the few things, if we look at the history of the world, especially with sport, that was started here in the U.S. No other country in the world has college athletics like we have it here in terms of the NCAA as a governing body and how prominent it is at our university and colleges. And we support college athletics because of what it does for the institution in terms of branding. It provides opportunities for student development, for building community. And so countries around the world have noticed these positive outcomes and really are considering now, is this something we could replicate in some form or fashion in their own country. So we've been working for the last 2 years in Japan, helping schools over there and working with the government because they are very keen on developing college athletics as a model of what we have in the U.S. It won't be the exact duplicate, but it'll be something that is different from what they have now, which is the club model. So we've been helping them understand how college athletics has evolved here. And so again, gathering data, looking at the history of college athletics so that they can understand the progressions and what major occurrences prompted change. And then as now we're in the next phase, what kind of models could be built which would be most effective over there. So it's all very exciting. I've got to go to Japan 3 times. I love Japan and the people over there are wonderful, but there's this passion for sport. And so I know that they see the value. It's just a matter of creating a model that fits for them.
Okay, perfect. And what are some specific opportunities, obviously with this expansion happening, and I know there's a lot more opportunities available for young professionals when it comes to college athletics. I know that's why, we have a lot of these master's degrees in place. Why don't you touch on a couple different roles that there are available for students who are looking to kind of break into college athletics? Sure.
I mean, from a global perspective, it's not just Japan, China, the UK. There's a bunch of countries that are looking at this and trying to understand what would make sense for them. So if you're a student who's interested in living abroad and you have this passion for college athletics, it really combines what probably is 2 of your main interests, is to be abroad and to work in college athletics. And in essence, you're creating a new industry in these countries. So having college athletics in Japan creates a new industry, so there's a need for people that have a specific skill set that can go over and can help lead college athletic departments within a university structure and develop strategy, execute strategy in that way. So domestically, college sport is a very large industry. There are over 1,100 members of the NCAA. Members are schools, and so each of those schools are going to have varying staff sizes. Large athletic departments, like in Ohio State or in Alabama or even here at Temple, can have 100 to 200 staff members working in areas like compliance, operations, finance, ticketing. Again, it's a business, so all the same departments we would see at Amazon or at Apple, we would have in athletic departments. And so it provides someone who has an interest in marketing or an interest in finance to do that within the context of college athletics. And so we think that there's value in doing an undergraduate degree in sport management or a master's degree in sport business like we have here at Temple, because we teach you all the business principles, but then we also teach you the unique things about sport, and specifically the unique things about college athletics that you need to be aware of if you're going to be successful. And so we feel that we combine the best of both worlds by the business principles, but then also the nuance of sport and college athletics.
Awesome. And analytics is big now too. So do you think that's going to be an opportunity in college athletics as well?
Absolutely. I think, a few years ago there was a book called Moneyball, and it really, people started paying more attention to analytics, and we've seen it in professional sport. Most teams have large analytic staffs that look at anything from what players should play in certain situations to how do we improve fan experience to how do we project ticket sales in the secondary ticket market, for example. That's now in college athletics as well. Again, to use Temple as an example, our football program has several analysts. We've placed students that are part of our analytics concentration at the master's level in Temple athletics, as well as Turnkey, which is another group here in the Philadelphia region that uses analytics to help support what sport teams are doing. So it's a growing field. It's a field that's in high demand. So if you're a student and you have interest in understanding how data leads to decisions, it's really maybe an area that you should look at.
Awesome. So it sounds like the opportunities are endless when it comes to college athletics. So why don't we, do I have time for one more question, I think? Awesome. So what advice would you give to anyone watching right now, any of our young professionals who see all these opportunities ahead of them? What advice would you give to them when it comes to breaking into the sport industry?
I think it's important to understand pathways. So I meet with quite a few students either at the undergrad or graduate level, and they talk about, I want to be an athletic director, I want to be a general manager, which is great. I think we want to support students who want to have that end goal, but that's more of an end goal. So you need to understand the different entry-level opportunities and how you can use those entry-level opportunities to progress through your career. So one of the things, again, I tell my students is look at people who are athletic directors. Look at their resume. What did they start doing? They didn't start as athletic director. They didn't start as general manager. Maybe they were in ticketing or development or finance or marketing, and they worked their way up that way. So again, it's being open to opportunities that are out there, and then understanding kind of the pathway that'll get you to where you want to go.
Awesome. So
and maybe doing your master's at Temple in sport business.
Your master's at Temple in sport business. Well, wonderful. Do we have any questions, or was there any? We can open this up for Q&A now. If anyone has any questions, if anyone wrote any questions.
No questions have been submitted so far, so.
All right, not a problem.
Just like in class.
No one has questions? Anyone raise their hand? No? Okay. Actually, can I ask one more question then? Might as well, just keep going. So for someone who's a college student, how can they stay up to date with news in college athletics? Any relevant industry news just to kind of make sure they're on their toes and staying ahead of what's going on right now?
Yeah, kind of the Wall Street Journal for sport is Sport Business Journal. And then for college athletics specifically, there's a service called D1 Ticker, which is a daily email that you get when they basically pull all the stories that have been written about college athletics. It's a free service. You can just go enter your email, and every morning you'll get, again, a summary of anywhere from 15 to 20 articles that have been written about sport. And so that's a great way, an easy way to stay up to date, because you can just link to a full article on something that's of interest to you.
Well, wonderful. So to kind of conclude and wrap this up, we're going to do something we like to call Fast Five. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions, or I'm going to list 5 topics, and give us the first answer that comes to your mind. Maybe think about it for a second.
Okay.
All right. What is your favorite book or a book that you're currently reading right now?
So I like to read a lot, but I tend to read multiple books at once. So there's probably not one that I'm currently reading, but I'm reading a book called What Made Maddie Run, which is about an athlete who was at the University of Pennsylvania. And then a management book, Start With Why, which deals with organizational change. So I'm currently going back and forth between those 2.
Very nice.
And a bunch of kids' books, like Captain Underpants. I read that the other night because I have a 7 and a 4-year-old.
For yourself, correct?
Right, for myself.
Inspirational figure.
Yeah, so I think personally for me, as I look back to my own development, I had a high school basketball coach who really took an interest in me and helped me develop at that age, but more of a global perspective. It would be like a Harvey Milk or a Dalai Lama or a Martin Luther King Jr. I'm really drawn to people that are activists for social change. I think that's very important.
Awesome. If you can describe STHM in one word.
Exciting. It's hard, one word. I would say progressive. We try to be leading and cutting edge, so we tend to think of ourselves as being very progressive in the industries that we represent.
I agree with that as the recruiter for this program. Favorite sports team?
Besides Temple. All
Temple sports teams.
I love Temple. They'll always be number one. I'm a Buckeye. I went to Ohio State, so I always keep an eye on them. I know that's not popular in this part of the world. And then I suppose the Philly teams as well.
All the Philly teams?
No one likes hockey, so no.
Oh, he didn't just say that.
I'm just kidding. That was for Dr. Kent.
Favorite vacation spot?
Wow. I love vacation in general. I think one of our favorite spots, we went to Spain a few years ago, to Barcelona and Madrid, and just had an amazing time. So definitely want to go back there sometime.
Well, awesome. Well, that's all we have for today. So thank you so much for everyone watching. Thank you for joining. Dr. Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to speak to everyone. I'm sure a lot of the young professionals watching are going to take a lot of this advice that you gave and the information and kind of move forward. I do know that Jamie's going to be posting on here a link to Dr. Jordan's LinkedIn. So if you wanted to kind of dive in, get to know him a little more, feel free to check that out. And if you are interested in any of our graduate programs, specifically on the sports side, there's also a link to my schedule once. You can schedule a time to speak with me about any of the programs. So.
Thanks, Michelle.